Good afternoon, welcome to VANIK-IAS. We will discuss current affairs of today, and first topic is Indian International Atomic Energy Agency. International Atomic Energy Agency. Why it is established? Why it is in news? Inspectors from International Atomic Energy Agency continued their survey on safety situation at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant on the banks of Dnieper River near Ukrainian town of Enerhodar. Europe's largest nuclear plant was seized by Russian forces in March, but continues to be operated by Ukrainian staff. It has recently become subject of concern as war spilt has been over into premises, with both Russia and Ukraine blaming each other for selling on warning of a possible the Chernobyl type of radiation disaster. Okay, so what happened? The thing is that Russian forces have taken control over European atomic energy, that is European nuclear power plant. And the issue is that if a particular nuclear power plant, if that is not maintained properly, if there is any operational problem, then there may be nuclear radiation disaster. Nuclear radiation disaster means the gamma rays will be emitted. They are radiations, gamma radiations, which are highly dangerous and having highly penetrating power. They can create various types of cancer, disease and various diseases in a human body. That may be this radiation disaster that may happen. Okay, what is IAEA and what does it do? It is an autonomous intergovernmental body. That which promotes safe and secure and peaceful nuclear technologies, has a relationship agreement with United Nations. Right? It is remember, it is not a branch of United Nations. It's a autonomous intergovernmental body which has relationship. That means it reports. It's report to UNGA or United Nations General Assembly. Okay. What is the function? Why we should judiciously use our nuclear weapons? Should we avoid the nuclear technology? Answer is no. Why you should not avoid nuclear technology? Because that's a non-conventional sources of energy, which can by which we can get a huge amount of energy, so that will meet our need. Right? We are not energy surplus. We are suffering from various energy crises, and the conventional sources, the petroleum products or coal, anytime after few decades they will be finished, right? And also there is alternative sources of also in the period in our Middle East region or West Asia region, there is huge amount of huge uncertainty and political instability. So anytime these sources of energy, that supply chain may be disrupted, and for that what will happen? The prices of petroleum products will increase and every country will suffer, right? So that's why every country they want to be self-sufficient so far as energy is concerned. India has also that aim to become energy secure, to achieve energy security or energy self-sufficiency. For that we need also nuclear technology, because it is from very small amount of nuclear material we can get a huge amount of energy, right? That is equivalent to tons and tons of coal, right? From a small amount of radioactive material we can generate such amount of energy that is equivalent to tons and tons of coal, right? So that's why you need nuclear energy. But there is a problem with nuclear energy. If it is misused, if that is used for example, somebody can use it as a atom bomb, creation of atom bomb, that is a threat. The application of nuclear technology is atom bomb, and USA has which are used on Japan on August 6 and August 9 in 1945 because of during the period of Second World War. So this can be misused by this nuclear reaction or nuclear power can be misused. Then at the same time we need nuclear energy, at the same time it has also a potential threat. And there is another potential threat also that associated with nuclear energy. In case that nuclear energy come into the control of non-state actors. Non-state actors means for example, terrorists, right? If that come in the contact of non-state actors, then the result will be very severe, right? For example, nuclear technology, if that comes to the hand of ISIS, it will threaten every country and it will do whatever it want to do, because they will have a huge power, right? If India, that is why there is International Atomic Energy Agency. What is the function of International Atomic Energy Agency? Basically, it will verify whether whatever the nuclear technology you are developing, that is for development of nuclear bombs or nuclear weapons, or that is for peaceful uses of nuclear energy. That will be ensured by International Atomic Energy Agency. Another thing is that nuclear power, it is very limited to few countries. For example, the P5 countries, India and Pakistan, they have also nuclear technology. So there should not be nuclear proliferation. Nuclear proliferation means there should not be horizontal proliferation. Horizontal proliferation means nuclear technology should not be gained by any other country other than those countries who have already gained it. That's why they have brought NPT, Non-Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, that forbids any country to acquire nuclear power. But India has developed it because it has said it is getting a threat from two-way front, from China and Pakistan. That's why India has developed nuclear power. Pakistan has also developed or taken from China, whatever, but Pakistan has also developed nuclear power. Now it's a nuclear power state. Okay, but these international bodies, they do not want nuclear proliferation. That's why, for example, Iran was enriching nuclear technologies against the West. But that's why there is Iran nuclear deal, right? There is Iran nuclear deal between the P5 countries and European Union with Iran. They say that if you will stop enriching nuclear technologies, we will lift all the sanctions against you, right? But what happened during Trump government? They imposed more sanctions, right? Rather than when Trump government came in USA, they imposed more sanctions on Iran rather than lifting the sanctions, economic sanctions that is already imposed on Iran because of its nuclear enrichment. And when Trump government again imposed sanctions, and they do not take and broken down the JCPOA agreement. JCPOA agreement, that is the Iran nuclear deal. It says that Iran should stop its nuclear enrichment and the economic sanctions will be lifted. But as Trump government that broken it, again the crisis has emerged and Iran started establishing its nuclear power. Now again Biden government has come, they want to restore this JCPOA and stop Iran from developing nuclear technologies, because whenever a particular country acquire nuclear technologies, they become very powerful. Immediately they become highly powerful, almost equivalent to other countries. For example, in case of conventional war, there is no comparison between India and Pakistan, right? In case of conventional war, there is no comparison between India and Pakistan. But in case of nuclear war, there is, even Pakistan is more powerful than India. It has developed slightly more as compared to India, right? So that's become a big threat, right? A small country become very powerful when they have a nuclear power, which the Western countries or other countries do not want. Or another thing is that also there is no stable government in West Asia. There are dictators, right? There are so many terrorist organizations. So by any means, if any non-state actor or terrorist organization, if they get the nuclear technology, that will be a big problem from the whole world. So because of all these problems regarding associated with nuclear technologies, there is IAEA or International Atomic Energy Agency. It was born on July 29, 1957 after IAEA statute approved by 81 countries in late 1956 at the height of Cold War between United States and Soviet Union. Its creation was inspired by the Atoms for Peace, right? Atoms for Peace, speech made by former that speech made by US President Dwight Eisenhower, right? Eisenhower had made a speech, that is Atoms for Peace. Nuclear weapon is also called as weapons of peace. Why nuclear weapon is called as weapons of peace? Nuclear weapon is highly devastating. They will destroy a big city within minutes, within few seconds. Why still it is called as nuclear weapon is the weapon of peace? Because they create deterrence. Deterrence means stopping a country to act. For example, if two countries, for example, there is between India and China, both are nuclear power, so there will not be war. Generally, there will not be war, because if war happens, then both countries, there is probability that both countries will apply nuclear weapon, and if they apply nuclear weapon, that will be mad. Mad, that is mad. Remember this phrase, that is mad. What do you mean by mad? That is mutually assured destruction. Mutually assured destruction, that is mad. That means it is 100% sure that you will lose a significant amount of your country. So many people will die. So many people die from India. Also so many people die from Pakistan. And there are multiple repercussions to other people also. It is mutually assured destruction. Every country will lose if they use nuclear weapon. So that is why it is called as atoms for peace, or nuclear weapon is a weapon of peace, because Third World War that didn't happen. After Second World War stopped, because both countries have nuclear power. If US and Russia will fight, both have nuclear power. So there is high chances that both will lose a significant amount of their territory and population. So they are not fighting with each other. Only Cold War was going on. So this atoms for peace, it was inspired by US President Eisenhower. And the United Nations General Assembly in 1953, when he envisions that organization to promote peaceful and unifying use of nuclear energy. So rather than developing nuclear power, what we should do peaceful nuclear energy. That is for energy purposes, not for destruction of other countries or creating fear. Okay. The IAEA is entrusted with the task of upholding the principle of Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty of 1970. Right? It is entrusted with the task of upholding the principle. What is the upholding the principle? That means the prime job of this NPT, or Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, to stop this horizontal distribution. That means the P5 countries, the permanent member of Security Council, only those people, that means those countries who have developed their nuclear power before 1968, they will regarded as a legitimate nuclear power, but others will not allow to develop it, right? That means other countries will not be allowed to develop it. For example, India, only US, France, China, Russia, they will have the power. UK, they will have the power to have nuclear power. All others should not have nuclear power. This is what NPT said. So India has not signed NPT. Why? India said that it creates nuclear haves and nuclear have-nots. Either India believes in completely disarmament. Complete disarmament means all the countries of world order, they will destroy their nuclear weapons, whatever existing nuclear weapons they have. But you cannot say that keeping nuclear weapon with me is right and keeping nuclear weapon with you is wrong. You cannot say that, right? So nuclear weapon, either we have the power, should have the power to nuclear weapon, or none of us should have the power regarding nuclear weapon. So India didn't sign Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. He said that it creates haves and have-nots. The international, another thing is that, yes, so whose job is to do that? Whether a particular country is developing nuclear weapon or not, whose job is to verify it? The job is to verify is IAEA, that is international, that is international nuclear atomic energy agency, right? Okay. According to the statute, IAEA's objectives include controlling and promoting the atom, meaning a promotion for nuclear technology, nuclear security and safety, and peaceful uses of nuclear energy in areas such as agriculture and health. So the job of IAEA is to promote nuclear energy, but for peaceful purposes or for energy purposes, right? Not for warfare. The atomic watchdog and its former Director General Muhammad El-Baradei were awarded Nobel Prize 2005 for the agency's work incalculable importance at a time when disarmament efforts appeared deadlocked and when there was danger that nuclear arms would spread both to states and terrorist groups. Right? There is a trend, yes, there is a, at other time there is a threat, that was the possibility that this nuclear weapon will spread to both to the various states. If every state will have nuclear weapon, that will also create a severe problem. Another thing is that non-state actors, I have already explained, they will also create severe problem regarding nuclear weapon because they will be very powerful. The Vienna headquartered agency, headquarter of IAEA is at Vienna, Austria. Currently has 175 member states and functions through which two policy making organs of the body, Board of Governors and General Conference. The General Conference of IAEA, where representatives from all the member states in its main governing body that approves the agency's program and a budget and makes decision on the matters brought to its attention by the Board of Governors. Makes decision on which matter is. So those matters that will be brought by the Board of Governors, by the officials, that will be discussed by the agency in the General Conference of IAEA. It is headquarter is at Austria, that is Vienna. Board of Governors has governors from 35 member states, designated and elected by General Conference, designated or elected by General Conference. They will have 35 member states. As per US Congressional Research Service, the board roles include making recommendations to, it recommends IAEA General Conference regarding the agency's program and budget, as well as appointing IAEA Director General with the approval from the General Conference, right? So General Conference, the governors recommendations, right? The governors of IAEA, the Board of Governors, they recommends various things to the General Conference, and also they appoint the General Conference, they appoint the IAEA Director General. The watchdog carries out its functions in two main ways: verification and technical assistance. Verification and technical assistance. As a part of its task of holding the NPT, the IAEA has made verification agency for the treaty. Yes, NPT of foundation. That means this proliferation of nuclear weapon to other countries, that should be stopped by IAEA. That who will stop it? By this IAEA will stop it. Each non-nuclear weapon state party is required under Article 3 of the NPT to conclude a comprehensive safeguards agreement with IAEA, enable the IAEA to verify fulfillment of their obligation under treaty. It currently has these agreements with more than 180 countries. So more than 180 countries, they have signed the IAEA so that there will be no nuclear proliferation, right? Essentially, safeguards are activities What are these safeguards? Safeguards are activities to ensure that countries are living up to their pledges of not using nuclear energy for nuclear weapons, right? The countries, the 180 countries who have signed the NPT or the members of IAEA, right, they should ensure that they are not developing nuclear weapon purposes. Each member country and non-members who voluntarily wish to do so sign CSA with the IAEA where they declare their nuclear material and activities, which IAEA inspectors then verify through on-site visits, inspections testing technologies telling with of the declared project designs with the nuclear facilities and containment and surveillance techniques such as tamper-proof seals, cameras in the IAEA installs at all facilities. So there will be camera, there will be tamper-proof seals so that it cannot be misused, right? That will be verified by the inspectors of International Atomic Energy Agency officials, right? They will verify it whether a particular country is misusing the nuclear power or not. In 1997, the agency added another layer of scrutiny to its verification process by giving countries option of including additional protocol to their CSAs, enabling the watchdog not to only verify non-diversion of enabling the watchdog to not only verify the non-diversion of declared nuclear material by the countries, but also to make them accountable for the absence of undeclared nuclear material and activities, right? That means if a particular country has not revealed that it has some nuclear power, then he is accountable, he will be punished for that, right? If a particular country has not declared its nuclear material, it has some nuclear material but it has not declared, then that will be also the countries will be punished for that, they will be accountable, right? What are some of its prominent international engagements? In 1970s and 80s, IAEA has quick response to various severe nuclear disasters like the 3 Mile Island in the United States in 1979 and Chernobyl in Soviet Union. IAEA helped the Soviet Union decommission the Chernobyl nuclear plant and safely dispose radioactive waste. As they have technical expertise, they will also help regarding management of radioactive waste in the management of radioactive waste of nuclear reactors. After Iraq's withdrawal from Kuwait, the United Nations requested IAEA services in respecting Iraq's nuclear capabilities and destroying and rendering harmless all assets relevant to the design and production of nuclear weapons, right? So in case that is talking about Iraq war, right? IAEA services is one inspecting Iraq nuclear capabilities. The agency has since played a key role in Iraq securing declaration from and looking into possible clandestine nuclear weapons program. It is also credited for standing on the ground under pressure from George W. Bush administration to back American claim that Saddam Hussein regime was pursuing the nuclear weapons. Here one of the criticism of IAEA that although they didn't find any such problem, right? IAEA was inside Iraq, but they didn't find any such nuclear weapon, right? Still, there is pressure from the George Bush government of United States, and they pressured, and that's why IAEA has reported that there is nuclear weapons. So that is a criticism of the agency that is working on the behest of Western states. The agency's Director General Mr. L. Baradei maintained that he would not rush into judgment on this matter without incontrovertible evidence that could prove that Hussein had committed a gross violation of the non-proliferation, right? Saddam Hussein, he said that I will not, okay, the cautious approach later proved to be in watchdog's favor when the US invasion of Iraq failed to yield the necessary proof of Hussein's pursuit of nuclear weapons, right? Even US invaded Iraq, they didn't find any nuclear weapons, right? In Iran, the agency has played a key role in enforcing. So, agency has played a key role. It is even present on the ground. It is enforcing the original nuclear deal in 2015. That is Joint Comprehensive Plan for Polar Action (JCPOA), from which Donald Trump withdrew in 2018. Since then, the agency is pursuing safeguards of investigation whether Iran failed to declare the traces of uranium found at the 3 undeclared sites has become essential for a potential Iran deal. That country demands that the investigation be wrapped off and the deals to be for a deal to see the light of the day, right? Just a second. Okay. The IAEA proof relates mainly old sites that apparently existed before and around 2003, which when the IAEA and US intelligence believe Iran halted the coordinated nuclear weapon arms program. Iran denies what IAEA has provided intelligence from Israeli intelligence about such material from the Iranian archives, which country didn't declare in the CSA, the agency says. That means Iran has not declared its nuclear weapon are present in the country, right? In North Korea, the IAEA was first to announce that country's nuclear program was peaceful. North Korea has in turn expelled all the IAEA inspectors in 2009, after which it has not been able to conduct an on-site visit there. The world is now reliant on the ground sensors and satellite imagery to observe North Korea's nuclear action. So, so far as nuclear action in North Korea, because North Korea joined NPT and it come out of it, remember, came out of it and it is developed nuclear power. But IAEA, it is not allowing any IAEA inspectors to visit the on-site verification. That's why they are now reliant on the satellite imagery regarding North Korea's nuclear actions. As for India, while it is not a signatory to NPT, India is not a signatory to NPT, it is a designated member in the IAEA and has served on its board of governors. India has also served on board of governors. India signed a CSA with IAEA in 2009, also subscribed to more scrutiny by the body by entering into an additional protocol for application of safeguards in civil nuclear facilities 2014, additional safeguards in civil nuclear deal 2014. For example, India, the biggest provision for India's nuclear deal is that India has no first use. India has in its nuclear program, it has said that India will not apply nuclear weapon against any country for the first time. What are some criticism of IAEA? What are some criticism? For years, there have been questioning about agency's ability to work independently without being drawn into big power rivalries. The most recent case in the point of Iran criticism of the body for relying on Israeli intelligence that beginning in 2008 in on nuclear materials investigation. Right? IAEA is an international body. Why it will be dependent on Israeli intelligence? How can you? Because Israel and Iran, they have animosity with each other, right? So how can you trust another country's intelligence? You verify yourself, right? That is a criticism. When Pakistan pursued nuclear weapon program in 1980s, despite overwhelming evidence in possession of American authorities, they didn't pursue a case effectively through the IAEA because of cooperation between US and Pakistan in the Afghan front. Just because there is cooperation between US and Afghanistan, Pakistan, that's why this IAEA has not investigated the Pakistan case properly. So proliferation nuclear weapon happen although there is IAEA. Another issue regarding IAEA's lack of enforcement capability, which was hinted by Mr. L. Baradei, who had observed that it had uneven authority, as it does not have any power to override the sovereign rights of any member nation of UAE, right? Like sovereignty, every country is sovereign regarding decisions. A particular IAEA organization do not have sovereign rights over any member nation. They cannot direct any country for disarmament, right? One major criticism of IAEA is that it has not been able to challenge the nuclear dominance of the 5 countries, 5 permanent members of UNSC. That is the biggest criticism, right? You want to freeze the whole world that there should be nuclear disarmament, there should be nuclear enrichment only for peaceful purposes or energy purposes. It should not be used for nuclear weapons. But you are not working against the P5 countries. There is no action against the P5 countries, right? Who themselves hold the biggest nuclear arsenals in the world. They have the biggest nuclear arsenal. My highest power lies with the P5 countries. What about them? That is the biggest, right? According to experts, the biggest facility facing the IAEA is that with the US. The difficulty it is facing with United States and Russia. All the 2 countries cut down their nuclear arsenals since the Cold War, but still have a owing 7,000 weapons. 7,000 nuclear weapons is still present in case of USA and Russia. They have. What is the current mission said about the Zaporizhia NPP? The site came in the line of military activity on the plant and physical integrity of the plant has been violated. In March, after a fire broke out in the alleged sailing near Zaporizhia NPP, IAEA outlined 7 indispensable pillars of nuclear safety and security at a nuclear facility, warning that several of them have already put out of risk during events overnight. That means various risks are associated with it. Nuclear weapon is not only, there are 2 threats. First threat is that regarding if a weapon is developed that create a threat to other countries, that may be used as a nuclear weapon. Another threat is nuclear disaster, because nuclear disaster is very harmful to the human health, especially the gamma radiation, various nuclear radiations, they are very harmful to the health of human being. If nuclear radiation happens, that affects a large chunk of people. Or nuclear waste also, nuclear waste disposal. So all these things are, so for safety and security there are 7 indispensable pillars of nuclear safety and security that is launched by IAEA. The pillars relate the maintaining structural integrity, ability of the operating staff to make decision free under pressure, undue pressure, securing an alternate off-site power supply from the grid, among others. The NPP for the second time on September 2, 2002 lost the connection to its last remaining main 7 kV external power line, followed by new sailing in the area. The plant then had to resort to using a reserve line to continue supply electricity through the grid as per IAEA statement. Okay, this is all related to International Atomic Energy Agency. Comprehensively we have covered it fully. It is very important regarding nuclear power. I have almost discussed all the various aspects of regarding nuclear issues, right. You must go and study for regarding the provisions of NPT and why India should not join, has not joined it, or whether India should join NPT or NSG. Why? Because India is not able to join NSG because it has not signed NPT, right. Then you must study also CTBT, Comprehensive Nuclear Ban Treaty. Then also you should study what is India's nuclear doctrine, and whether there is any need to change it. That is also that may be question that may arise from this topic. Okay. Will some prelim facts. PM Sri Yojana. On the occasion of National Teachers Day, the Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi has initiative PM Sri Schools. What is PM Sri Schools? PM Schools for Rising India. PM Schools for Rising India. This will be a new centrally sponsored scheme. What do you mean by centrally sponsored? That will be both contributed by the state and the center for upgradation and development of the schools. More than 14,000 schools, for upgradation and development of 14,000 schools across the country, and strengthening the selected existing school amongst the schools managed by central government, state government, or union territories or local bodies. So around 14,000, 15,500 schools will be developed under the PM Sri schools. PM Sri schools will showcase all components of national education policy. National education policy or new education policy that is started by India, brought by the government, that is according to recommendation of K. Kasturirangan. K. Kasturirangan committee has established that has recommended national education policy. It will act on exemplar schools and act as exemplar school, and also offer mentorship to other schools in their vicinity. So some schools will be developed and they will provide mentorship to other schools in their area. They will be based on national educational policy. The aim of these schools will not only qualitative teaching, learning, cognitive development, but also creating holistic, well-rounded individuals equipped with key 21st century skills. Pedagogy adopted in these schools will be more experiential, holistic, integrated, play-toy based, particularly in the foundational years, inquiry-driven, discovery-oriented, learner-centered, discussion-based, flexible and enjoyable, right. So new type of child learning system is being developed, especially in the early days of schooling, especially in class 1 or class 2 or during the preschool, right. Okay. That should be discussion based. It should not be only like the conventional learning. That should be smart by providing various toys, and that should be enjoyable, right. Enjoyable means, for example, they will take a toy of a lion, they will say this is lion. The child will love to learn it as a lion. You will read this is a lion, right. So how can we make the learning system as, and it's a mode of entertainment? That is what it is emphasized by the new educational policy and this PM Sri schools of, that is PM Sri Yojana. Focus will be achieving proficiency in learning outcomes, of every child in every grade. Assessment at all levels will be based on conceptual understanding and application of knowledge to real life situations, and will be competency based. To real life situation and will be competency based. It is based on conceptual understanding and application knowledge in real life situation. Real life situation means practically you will show that, suppose somebody is studying mathematics or addition, practically you will show something so that will be entertaining for the students. by real life examples. These schools will be equipped with modern infrastructure. There will be modern infrastructure including labs, smart classrooms, libraries, sports equipment, art rooms, all these things inclusive and accessible. What do you mean by inclusive and accessible? Inclusive and accessible means those students which are who are specially abled or disabled. Now we are using the word specially abled, right? They also will be included. The sports they also will be given some sports in equipment, right? So that they can also play, they can also get included in those process of learning and playing, that is accessible and inclusive. These two terms means that. These schools are also developed as a green schools. Green schools means water conservation, waste recycling, energy efficiency infrastructure, integration of organic lifestyle in the curriculum. Organic lifestyle means there should not be any chemical fertilizers. So green school there will be waste water conservation. That is how water conservation will happen by plantation of trees in those areas, right? So school there will be waste recycling. There will be so the awareness regarding not using of plastic is also used. Okay. They will provide leadership in the respective regions in providing high quality education. An equitable, inclusive and joyful school environment that take care of the diverse background. Multilingual leads different academic abilities of the children and makes them active participants in their learning process for the vision of new education policy 2020. There is diverse socialization. Everybody diverse background. The students they belong diverse background, and people have diverse interest. Based on their interest, based on their skills, they should be learning process will be like that, right? Okay. Next, Indian Scientist Award for fortifying millet. What do you mean by fortification? Fortification means adding nutrients to the existing food. That is fortification. So Indian scientist has got award. Telangana based agriculture scientist Mahalingam Govindaraj has won and coveted 2022 Norman E. Borlaug Award at Father of Green Revolution, Field Research and Application, right? So he has got this award in agriculture. Okay. Who is Norman Borlaug Field Award? It is in the field of research and application, endowed by Rockefeller Foundation, is presented in October in Des Moines, Iowa, USA by the World Food Prize Foundation. It is given around $10,000. Recognizes exceptional science-based achievement in international agriculture and food production by an individual under age of 40. Under age of 40, this award is given for exceptional research in the field of agriculture and food production. Award is emulated from the same intellectual courage, stamina and determination in the fight to eliminate global hunger and poverty as demonstrated by Dr. Norman Borlaug as a young scientist working in Mexico in 1940s and 1950s. So how to remove global hunger and poverty? If there is any such, recently Cynthia Rosenwig has got World Food Prize, right? World Food Prize is got by Cynthia Rosenwig. Okay, 2022 recipient Mahalingam Govindaraj, senior scientist crop development at Harvest Plus and Alliance Biodiversity International and CIAT has been named as 2022 recipient of Norman E. Borlaug Award for field research and application, endowed by the Rockefeller Foundation. So he has got this award. He is recognized for his outstanding leadership manifesting biofortified crops. So crops that is biofortified, that means nutrient is added in the crops, particularly millet in India and Africa. Right? Millet are fortified. So he has worked in this fortification of millet, fortified millet. That's why he has got the award. For more than a decade, he directed the development and dissemination of high yielding and high iron and high zinc corn millet varieties, which have contributed better nutrition for thousands of farmers and their communities. Better nutrition for thousands and farmers and their communities. he has pursuing research from more than a decade. As a scientist of International Crop Research Institute, ICRI, for semi-arid trophics, ICRI is SAT, right? Starting in 2011, Govindaraj defined a strategy for biofortification of pearl millet with high iron and zinc content. Dissemination of these high yielding and drought tolerant varieties to farmer. So at the same time, that is of high iron, high zinc content, and also high yielding and drought tolerant varieties. They are drought tolerant varieties. Biofortification is the process of increasing micronutrient content of crop through selective breeding. Increasing micronutrient content of crop. Biofortification, it is increasing micronutrient content of crop through selective breeding and has become keystone strategy for reducing vitamin and mineral deficiencies in low and middle income countries. Low and middle income countries, that means in the developing countries, right? In case of developing countries, this will reduce hunger and malnutrition, right? So this they are starting biofortification. First, in the high yielding drought tolerant, those areas where rainfall is very low, then farmers can earn these millets which are also very rich in nutrients, so that will work for multi-purpose, right? And in 2014, Govindra released Dhana Shakti, the world's first biofortified Dhana Shakti. What is Dhana Shakti? World's first biofortified pearl millet. Biofortified pearl, that is Dhana Shakti. Independent clinical studies showed that 200 grams of Dhana Shakti provided women more than 80% of the recommended daily allowance of iron compared to only 20% in regular pearl millet varieties. That means in Dhana Shakti millet you will get around 4 times than usually what you are getting, 4 times nutrition, right? 4 times nutrition than what you are getting in normal cases. Govindaraj's active collaboration with the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR, led to India becoming the first country in the world to commit to iron and zinc standards as core traits their national cultivation release policy. Pearl millet became the first crop in which minimum level of these essential micronutrients were mandated in 2018. Okay, next. Next is how Pakistan floods have imperiled Mohenjo-daro's World Heritage tag. Mohenjo-daro's World Heritage tag. Okay, the recent spell of heavy rains and floods has ravaged the large parts of Pakistan, Sindh province, especially in the Sindh province, large parts of Pakistan, there is heavy flood, right? Taken heavy toll in the archaeological site of Mohenjo-daro. In fact, the calamity has pushed the archaeological site situated in the bank of the Indus River to brink of extinction. It is almost destroyed. Pakistan's Department of Archaeology has said that Mohenjo-daro might be removed from the World Heritage list if urgent attention towards the conservation and restoration of this is not given. Consequently, the administration has banned the entry of tourists to the place because it is almost destroyed by the flood. So if that is not restored, that will lost its World Heritage tag. So urgent conservation is highly essential. Huge amount of resources is essential to conserve the Mohenjo-daro. Mohenjo-daro is in news, so that will be important for this year exam. Importance of Mohenjo-daro. Mohenjo-daro group of mounds and ruins. Mohenjo-daro means mounds and ruins. A 5,000-year-old archaeological site. 5,000-year-old archaeological site about 80 km of the city of Sukur. It comprises remnants of one of the two main centers of the ancient Indus Valley civilization. The other one being Harappa, located 640 km from the northwest in Punjab province. Mohenjo-daro, which means mound of the dead. Mound of the dead was one of the oldest cities of the world, right? It is one of the oldest civilization of the world, like Mesopotamia civilization, and it is there is also, it is highly developed. Why it is very famous Mohenjo-daro? Because of this development in lifestyle, city lifestyle it has developed. That includes the city, includes a planned city, that is a very planned city. There is proper drainage system, right? So we get so much knowledge about their advanced lifestyle they were living. That is why it was in news. That is why it is very famous. Known to be model planned city of ancient civilization. The houses here had bathrooms, toilets, drainage system, sheer size of the city. It is provision for public buildings, facilities, suggests a high level of social organization. High level social organization, that means the structure of society was that is properly defined, that they are assimilating each other, maybe there is gatherings, they are taking decisions, maybe common decisions. Through the ruins, the walls and brick pavements in the streets are still in a preserved condition, right? They are preserved areas, but that is highly destructed by the flood, but that's why people are not allowed, that requires restructuring, right? That requires conservation. The ruins of the city remained undocumented for around 3,700 years. Undocumented until 1920, when archaeologist R.D. Banerjee, remember R.D. Banerjee, Rakhaldas Banerjee, R.D. Banerjee has visited the site. Excavation started in 1921 and continued to phases till 1964 to 65. The site went to Pakistan during partition. After that, that becomes in Pakistan. That is Mohenjo-daro, that belongs to Indus Valley civilization. Other Indus Valley civilization spanned much what now Pakistan and northern states of India, in Gujarat, Haryana, right? In Gujarat, Lothal, right? This Lothal, this Kalimangan sites of Gujarat, extending towards the Iranian border. We have various Indus Valley civilization in India as well. Its major urban centers include Harappa, Mohenjo-daro in Pakistan and Lothal, Kalimangan, Dholavira, Rakhikai in India. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Pakistan, Lothal, Kalimangan, Dholavira and Rakhikai in India. These are major urban centers of Harappa. Mohenjo-daro is considered as one of the most advanced city of its time, with sophisticated civil engineering and urban planning. Most advanced city of its time. When the Indus Valley civilization went into sudden decline around 19th century, Mohenjo-daro was abandoned. What is the next for the site? Many streets and sewerage drains of historical ruins have been badly damaged due to the floods, right? However, the work of removing the sediments deposited due to the flooding is still underway. They are extracting the sediments that is inside the sites. But if this kind of flooding happens again, the heritage site may once again get buried under the ground, as archaeologists say. Right? They will be buried under the ground. It is expected that UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has visited the site during his visit to Pakistan in September 11. This visit might provide some clarity on if the site has lost some of its attributes are necessary for the return of the prestigious World Heritage tag. That might also lose the World Heritage tag in Pakistan. There are around 1,100 UNESCO World Heritage sites listed across its 167 member countries. The 2021 the World Heritage Committee holding 44th session of China has decided to delete property Liverpool, Maritime Mercantile City UK from the World Heritage list due to the irreversible loss of attributes conveying outstanding universal value of the property. So, if there is irreversible loss to the property happens, so what usually UNESCO does, it removes the World Heritage tag. Liverpool was added to World Heritage list 2004 in recognition of its role as one of the world's major trading centers of 18th and 19th centuries and pioneering dock technology, transport system and port management. In its pioneering dock technology, transport system and port management. As it has lost, that's why its World Heritage tag has also lost. Before that, first venue delisted UNESCO panel was Arabian Oryx Sanctuary. Just briefly remember the name, Arabian Oryx Sanctuary. In Oman 2007, after concerns about poaching and habitat degradation, right, as poaching and habitat degradation occurs, that also lost the World Heritage tag. The jurisdiction of Central Bureau of Investigation (CBI) regarding the lodging a FIR and conducting proof within particular state is being questioned by various states. However, the power of the states withhold the consent of CBI is not absolute. Explain the special reference to the federal character of India. Right? The question is whether a state should have the power regarding to stop CBI from acting in his state or taking a particular case, show more taking a particular case, that whether it is the absolute power of the state or not, that is the question. Considering the federal power means in India we have two systems, two levels of power. One is the union and the state government. Both are different power based on 7th schedule of the constitution, right? Still, all the states have power regarding on the basis of federalism, so what they do not have absolute power to stop investigation for a particular case, right? So please try to write this question and first explain what is federalism and the CBI, then explain about CBI, right? It's from which act, that is Delhi Special Police Establishment Act 1946, from where it derives its power. Then there is a general consent rule. What is this general consent? State government generally give their consent, right? And then write about the powers of both state. For example, police state subject there is. So what regarding the powers, whether the state has the right to stop it or not. Write the both in both cases, both from the central government perspective, the perspective of CBI, and the perspective of the states, and Supreme Court, mention Supreme Court directions with respect to that, right? So this end of the discussion today, and like this video, share and subscribe to VANIK-IAS. Thank you.